Hey, it is now 2 o'clock, and I would like to welcome Cindy Concanon, who will be facilitating our art therapy workshop. Cindy?
You. Hi, so I'm Cindy Concanon. I am an art therapist. I have been a life coach for the Adler Aphasia Center. I also run an Zoom art talks workshop for them. And we're here today to talk to you about art and the brain. So I'm going to give you a little information first about what an art therapist is. Then we'll talk about art and the brain, and then we'll do a really fun project. So let's start with just a little information, and then we can go on to the actual.
Cindy, could you turn up your volume a little bit, please?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Speak a little louder. People can't hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Is that too loud, or is that better? Okay.
It seems to sound better. Thank you.
I'm better. Okay, wonderful. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I'd like to speak to everyone about art and about art therapy. So art therapists are not art teachers, and we don't do recreational art per se, although we make art out of every material possible. So art in art therapy is a little different because no artistic talent is needed. It's a type of art making that is not judged. So it's not good or bad. We don't necessarily even create it to put it up on a wall or decorate, but sometimes we do. So art is an expression and it's a communication. So really what we use art for is like communication in all means. So we talk, we use our bodies, we also make marks on paper, and that is how we communicate. And art can organize our thoughts and emotions. It's a reflection of self. And if when you're in therapy, art can show the progress of change. So there was this great study done by the Harvard Graduate School of Education that really studied all the ways your brain is in use when you are creating, looking at, and talking about art. So these are just a few of the things. I'll go through them really quickly. I know like if this slide has too much information on it for me, but I think that's something that we should notice, because when they looked at all the ways that your brain is in use when you are creating art, it really is a great expanse of the ways to use your brain. So it's used to develop craft, to embrace your problems, to work on problems, to create mental pictures, to convey ideas and feelings, to attend visually. So it's actually very mindful in that way, where you're noticing details and being in the here and now. So, and it's to reflect, to think and talk about the process of art as well. We talk a lot about how we create. We stretch and explore. We reach beyond our capacity by play. So that's another thing that creating art should be, and especially within art therapy, it's a real exploration. Like we're exploring ourselves, we're exploring whatever media we're using. So it's kind of like going back and having that joy of like just playing with crayons, or, you know, digging your fingers into the clay. And understanding the art world, and interacting as an artist. So people always tell me, oh, I'm not an artist, but as an art therapist, everyone has the capacity to create through media and to communicate through media. You might not have found your favorite one yet, but I'm always really excited about people finding that special thing and discovering, yes, I'm an artist. So today I wanted to talk to everyone about an artist named Mark Rothko. So he explored emotions through color in his artwork. He is an expressionist painter. He used the color field process, and his paintings were paintings that depicted emotion. So an expressionist painting is an artistic style that paints emotions, not things we can see with our eyes. So it's really up to a lot of interpretation. What does the artist want to say? But then again, what does the viewer get on their end? And sometimes it's two completely different things. Color field painting is a large-scale painting of a few colors that take up a really big portion of the canvas so that you really feel like you're surrounded by color. So what happens when a color is all around you? What emotions happen when you're surrounded by color? So here's the color red. If I painted every room in your home with the color of red, what would you feel? What would happen to your feelings if you could like envision this red all around you? What about blue? How about this super bright yellow? And the answer should be different for every person. So today we're going to have some fun. We're going to pick two colors. And I want you to think about what color is the color of calm and what color would be the color of strong. And it doesn't matter what materials you use. So if you have paints, chalk, I have a whole bunch of crayons here. If you have multiple, there we go. Sorry, I just got distracted by the chat. I'm more used to having people just chime in. So if you have multiple media, that's fine. If you only have crayons, that's good. If you only have paints, that's fine. You can use whatever media you want. Okay. So you choose one color that represents calm and one color that represents strong. And I want each family member to choose a color of their own, those two colors. So every family member should have a piece of paper, something that they can make the color with. And it should be, everybody chooses one color of calm and one color of strong. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our color of strong. So I'm gonna choose the color red for strong. And I chose a shape, a simple shape. So a simple shape that represents me. So each family member that you have there can choose a shape that represents them. Are you a triangle? Are you a square? Are you a circle? Maybe you're a heart shape, maybe you're a star, or you can trace your hand, which is always lovely and very representative of you. So I chose a triangle. So you draw that simple shape on your paper using your color that you feel is strong. And then you fill it in. Now, if you think about a strong motion with your arm and a strong feeling, you're gonna wanna use bold lines and really scrub that color in. So this is when you might think about your medium. So if you're using a crayon and you want bold and strong, that really works, right? But if you're using your watercolors, your bold and strong may be less bold and strong. But if you're using markers, then maybe your bold and strong is more bold and strong. So if you have the ability, if you have multiple things in front of you to choose from, pick one that really is something that you can express strong with. Now the next one we're doing is calm. So then you take a color of calm and use a different type of motion. So for me, I'm using the side of my chalk, and I am just spreading this in a very calm way. And actually, as you move along and try to cover the whole surround of your figure with the color of calm, think about the movements of calm. What does calm look like? What does calm sound like when you hear the paper underneath and the movement? Now, if I had a marker, maybe my marks would look different. Maybe they would be something like this. But they would move slowly and smoothly, like the feeling of calm. So who in your family is similar? So as you sit and compare to each other, so who's similar? Who's different? And now we're going to think about what parts of our strong and our calm can we share with our family members? So we're going to take our drawings that we have so far and pass them over to a family member. Now I want to ask, is there a way that we can turn on the mics for our attendants? Hi, Laura. Oh, good. I see yours. I would love to be able to see everyone and look at their artwork, but I am unable to see the attendees.
Chris, can you turn that on now for us, please?
Yeah, so I'm unable to see the attendees and I'm unable to, oh, good. Do I have everybody?
So if you go in gallery view.
Excellent. I'm in gallery view and I don't see any video. Hello, everyone. So, okay, so this is mine. And Laura, let me see yours because this will work for the two of us. So if you hold yours up and I hold mine up. So my color of strong is red. What color of strong is yours?
Purple, dark purple.
Dark purple. So if I wanted to share with Laura, she would have to add some dark purple to my strong somehow. So Laura, if you look at mine and you want to add some strong to my red triangle, how would you add strong? What lines or
Maybe
marks?
a dark circle in the middle.
Ooh, I love that. Here, I'm going to grab some dark purple. So Laura is giving me strong right in the middle. So she would take a dark purple and put it right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So now she gave me her strong right in the heart of my triangle. And Laura, if you were going to add calm to my image, what color is your color of calm?
It's pink, really. Pink is in the inside, light blue.
Yeah. So if you were going to add, like, so I have this. So if you were going to add some calm to my image, where would you think it needed to be?
I would put it all around on the outside, like squiggly lines around throughout.
So squiggly lines around me, the representation of me, and maybe even radiating out.
Yes.
Awesome. So that's the way we are going to actually create an image of strength and calm and be able to share it with each other.
No.
And I'm curious, I wish I could hear from our participants, which family members are the same? Who chose the same colors? Or did everybody in the family choose a different color?
Let me see if I can work on that. I will come right back.
So those are things that I'd like to know from you. And then the last thing we're going to do with our images, once everyone in the family has a chance to add to each other's, then we're going to think about how we could put it all together as one creation. So if we all shared our images all as one.
So if we could have attendees please unmute their mics, you would have the opportunity also to speak with Cindy today. All you need to do is press the little symbol, click on that, and your mic will be turned on.
And Cindy, I think you have to unshare your screen
Okay,
to see everyone else,
okay, let me stop sharing. for
if
a
you
minute.
can.
Oh yeah.
And now we'll do gallery view.
Gallery view.
And anyone that would like can turn off their, can put their mute, make it unmute and speak.
You can unmute and speak, and I would love to see your families and to see your artwork.
I actually was just listening to this. I didn't really do anything, but I lived by myself, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, so this is a different way to use art materials where there's no pressure of trying to recreate something visually. It's a more of exploration of your feelings at the moment. And there's a couple of other things that are going on when we do this. We are also bringing us into the here and now. So when things are very distracting, which things are today, and you need to kind of have a mini vacation from the world, you can come and do a project like this, no pressure, and it's just to get yourself into a mindfulness practice. And it doesn't have to look like anything, and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, I actually take these and reuse them. I tear them up and then go make a collage later. So there's no, nothing precious about it, which is kind of what I love about this project. There's nothing precious about this piece of work.
And
So-
Cindy, we're getting a lot of comments that people have done it. Unfortunately, they don't have the video rights to get into this meeting. So, but they have been
Okay.
doing it at home.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Good. So this is one way that we can create art. And if you are enjoying this, like what I'd like to know is if everybody has created theirs, shared them with their family, and they're ready to move on, I have another art project when you're ready.
I think we can move on.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So here's some more fun with art. So another artist that I like to talk about is Kandinsky. And this is another fine artist whose work we can use in the same sort of way, in a way in which we just kind of explore and have a lot of fun with it. So Kandinsky used dots, lines, and planes. And his work looks very complicated, but really it's really easy to emulate. So what we start with is a plain piece of paper. My plain piece of paper here. Ooh, wait, no, that's not plain. That's from another project. Okay. So now I have a plain piece of paper here, and I'm just going to put random dots on my paper. So I am not going to worry about having them be anywhere in particular, just random dots. The next thing I'm going to do is try to connect those dots with lines. And it doesn't have to be straight lines. So I can connect them from any place. Like I could have a line just from here to here. Here, and you know what? I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. There. And here we go. So I can connect dots this way. I can make swirls, curves. I can do straight lines through everything. I can have lines come off the page. I feel like this needs to connect here and go off the page. So you can decide where your lines are gonna go off the page, when they're gonna take a turn, and just have a little fun with it. So you just kind of take all your dots and you create these random patterns. So after that, we fill them in. So we take whatever colors are appealing to us. And we start to fill in all the shapes. So I can show you mine. So I'm taking mine and I'm filling in all the shapes. So you can see, I might use this red and I can blend it because I'm using the chalks. But you can do this with any material. You can do it with paints, you can do it with markers, you can do it with crayons. I might want a little right here. And I'm gonna keep filling in until I've filled in my whole page. And you can also think about, because before we used different pressure, so what do you need? So do you need to feel like a light pressure? Do you need things to lighten up? Then use light pressure. And do you feel like you need to get some energy out? So that's what's good. Like, so when I'm in quarantine, there's a lot of times where I feel I need to get the energy out and I don't have any place to go. So I will do an image where I'm really working hard at it, because if I work really hard at this and use all this energy here, it helps me to just expel that energy. And sometimes that's what's needed. So sometimes I need to expel that energy by using really strong, bold lines, a lot of movement, and then I exhaust myself, and then I want to go back to being soft again. So, and you can try and experiment and use different materials. See what happens if you do things very soft and light. See what happens when you do things that are strong and bold with a lot of energy. And everyone can do this. And this is another good family project because everyone in the family can do this from your age, I'd say 5, possibly younger, depending on your children. From 5 to 105. This is a project that everyone can do together. And you can
You know,
also
a lot of adults purchase these books and the colored pencils for de-stressing and stopping anxiety.
Yes, so when you use that up during quarantine, you don't have to run out to the store and get another one. You can make your own Kandinsky instead. And we keep going with that. So this is one where, and actually, even if your children are younger, you can actually do it with them. Maybe they do the dots and you do the lines, and then they help you color in between. So this is something that it really can be shared and done together. So I know that And also between friends. I ran a group with my own friends the other day. And it was interesting because it brings up different kinds of conversations also. And I love to look at art as well. I love the look of the Kandinskis. So we keep filling those in and you keep working on it. So this is something that the more you work on it and the more you keep going, the more you're going to see little things that you want to add. And that's the great thing. I think a lot of people, when you have to, like, you want to draw, but you don't know what you want to draw. You don't want to, want to really work on drawing skills. You just want to, keep your mind busy. So this is a lot like doodling, but if you keep going with it, it really can come out to be something beautiful. And what's great is that we look at a blank piece of paper and have anxiety. Like, all right, I have my favorite colors. I have a big blank piece of paper. What am I gonna do now? So starting through a process, and this is called process art, starting with a process where we're first drawing dots and then drawing lines and then filling in the planes. We just follow the process and trust that it will lead us to where we need to be. And it always happens. So as we go, our artwork develops, and everything that happens on the page, we have a reaction to. So there might be something that you're not thrilled with, and then you go back in and say, okay, how do I fix this? So in that respect, it helps us work on frustration tolerance as well. Because very often we make mistakes. All artists make mistakes. The most famous artists in the world have made so many mistakes. When you look at the great paintings in the museums, those paintings didn't just like pop out of the artist. They didn't go, yeah, they scraped it down. They started over. They might have redone it 20 times. They have some paintings that they gave up on entirely and painted over. And now museums are having so much fun, like x-raying and seeing what was underneath, which probably would horrify the artists. I don't know, they're gonna see all my mistakes now with technology. So all artists make mistakes. The best artists just fearlessly keep going, keep moving, keep going forward, even though there's mistakes going on. So mine is almost completed. I feel like there needs to be maybe a little more yellow in here because I'm seeing this little heart develop here. So now when I looked at this, now I'm seeing pieces, this was totally random. I'm seeing all different pieces of hearts, like this is the bottom of a heart. I might reshape this and make it more of a heart. I see a heart here. So I keep going and going until I've got something that I really love. So Laura, can I see yours? Oh, that's awesome. Can we spotlight you? Do I have to cancel the spotlight on me? Here,
Let me see.
Let's spotlight yours. Oh, I love it. And it looks so much like Kandinsky, right?
Okay.
I really believe, no, it really does. So we could go back. So I'm going to go back to my presentation and we can look at I'm going to go right back to the Kandinsky. Hang on. Let me go back. Whoop, too far. There it goes. So that's a Kandinsky. So you can see, like, if you just went a little further, decided to like throw some background in there. And I love that you put the words process art on there.
Can you share screen, please? I don't think we could see it.
Here we go. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you. I didn't realize that I wasn't sharing right at that moment. Yeah, so if you notice in the Kandinsky how much Laura's looks like a Kandinsky. And if she just keeps going, like, and like puts in some background and maybe makes like a few variations of dark and light, she's there. So that's the fun part. So now you go in and you decide, ooh, I like this one part. What do I like about it? Is it that like my big contrast between dark and light? Maybe. Maybe I like the part where the colors are soft and really blend into each other. So then you take that, the parts that you like, and you apply them to other parts of the same work until you get to a point where you really like what's happening on your page. So we just keep going. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Like I said, cut it up into little pieces and we can make it into a collage next time. So there's no pressure. And the process art really gives you a great place to start when you don't know where to start. So let me go back to, so we drew our dots, we connected it with lines, we filled in the planes, and now we're at the part where we can add other fun marks. So this is what I started with. I don't have to, and that's the great thing, there's no rules. I don't have to keep what's happening here and restrict myself. So if I decide that, you know, I want a little emphasis, so I kind of like the way this shape is, so I might emphasize it. So I might put in things that add emphasis. I might decide, well, that's great, but I like dots. Maybe I want to add some more dots. Maybe I like polka dots. Maybe I want to start filling in my areas with other things besides just solid lines. Maybe I would like to, so you can see here, even in this one, I started to put in a couple of different colors within a plane. And then, you know, maybe I want to do some stripes in there too. And it's really up to you, like what feels good to you. And that's part of the joy of creating art, is you decide what feels good. You use a material that feels good to you to use. So when we have different types of grip, so sometimes, like, I know people, it's very hard to grip things. So if that's the case, there are ways to adapt. So there are bigger, thicker brushes. There's bigger, thicker markers and chalks. There's also, I've painted with balloons. If you blow up a balloon just slightly, you can hold it with a grip like this and put it into the paint and do this same project just on a larger scale. So you would take it, you do your dots, decide how you were gonna connect them with the lines, and then use fill in colors, and you can do that all whole, like dipping a balloon into paint. Other ways I've seen people use an elastic band from here to here. If you use an elastic band to help hold on to your chalks or crayons or paintbrushes. So you can, the elastic band would loop around here, come across your hand and loop around here. And it helps you just hang on to your marker, chalk, paintbrush. So there are lots of different ways that we can adapt when we don't have the grip strength. Another bonus to the process art is that if you have, if you're using a left hand now, if you're not using what was your dominant hand, the process art gets you out of a headspace where you feel that you have to have the skill level that you had before. So you go and you start just creating art like this, process art, where it's free and open and explore, and you can explore. And it can be, you can really find great results. So it's extremely adaptive. And I love just process. There are other forms of process art that are enjoyable. One that's very popular right now is flow, where you use liquid paints, and you just pour them out and let them mix together. You can do the same thing with watercolors. If you just like take like a big dot of one watercolor color and just place another dot in the center and just watch the colors blend. Another project that we've worked on at the Aphasia Center was we took very liquidy paint, we put it on a page, and then we used a straw and blew it all around the page, and it made images that looked a lot like flowers. It was pretty beautiful. So there's all kinds of different ways to do process art. And I would like to know if anybody can let me know if they're trying this at home, how do they like their work? What do they think of the process? So like is probably a judgment word, and I'd rather keep away from that. So what did you think about the process of it? And how did it make you feel? Does anybody I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute.
Attendees are welcome to unmute their microphones and speak with Cindy if you'd like.
I actually enjoyed listening. Later on, I might actually try the dots and lines.
Yeah. So it's the dots, lines, and planes. It's easy to remember, and it is really an enjoyable process. So that's great. I'm glad you're going to give it a try.
Yeah, I just like to listen. If I like do too many things at once, I kind of lose track of things.
Right. Yeah, so this is really hard to multitask, right? So you're trying to pay attention to the Zoom
Instructions and doing it at the same time.
Yes, and it unfortunately, like being in person is a lot different, where we can interact more, and I could like walk around and look at your art and give instructions. Like we would have like this nice quiet period of time where you would work, and I would just kind of be there to answer questions. So it's a little different when we end up on Zoom, how it all works out.
I might actually check and see if I can do this as an art project for the special needs program that I'm in.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, so feel free to teach it to other people and to share it. It's really fun to do as a group, for sure.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Cindy, I actually had a question. Have you ever gone to support groups to do these types of project talks?
Yeah, so at mostly through the Adler Aphasia Center, I've done caregiver groups where we've done, and actually both. Yeah, so I've done the caregiver groups where I do paint-alongs. Sometimes I do a Bob Ross style where we pick an image and I go through all the steps on how to create a landscape. Another large program that we did was with all the members of the Aphasia Center. We did paint-alongs with them. We did a few of them. Yeah, so I do caregiver, and I am here assuming that everybody knows what aphasia is. What aphasia is the speech disability that occurs usually after a traumatic brain injury or a stroke. So most of the people I work with have suffered from a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, and they have this great resource at Adler Aphasia Center where everyone comes together. It's very social, we do all different types of programs, and I run an open studio for the members as well.
So
Cindy, can
we
I
actually
ask
have-
you?
That's in there's one in Maywood, and there's another in West Orange. But right now everything's on Zoom.
Cindy, is it true that people that have, we were talking about, following a lot of directions at one time, or possibly having paralysis or something, to get out those feelings, can you take just one crayon and like scribble, like if you're very angry that day, or even to help you communicate, like take a black crayon and just scribble? Will that also help, like relief? And
Absolutely. So I believe in communication by all means, and I feel having like art supplies around you and near you just gives you more ways to communicate and express. So communication sometimes is to another person. Sometimes it's just to release the emotion, because so often, we need to do that. We need to release those feelings. And that can happen through mark making. And I consider it mark making, any kind of mark making, using any means. So, I've seen people who work things out just using, a ballpoint pen. And it's good for people to start to explore. So all people should, can explore. When you make this mark, how does it feel? And what can it do for you? Does it lead to more frustration, less frustration? Because sometimes we want to work on our frustration tolerance. So we'll use a material like, for me, it's watercolors when they all start to run together. And I get frustrated. I'm like, so I know when I want to use something that I have more control over, and when I want to use something that I have less control over, so that, depending on whether I need relief from something or whether I really want to work on something. So it works in both directions.
So, Cindy, I actually had another question. I understand that you primarily work with people who've sustained a traumatic brain injury or acquired brain injury, and they are living now with aphasia. Do you have any experience, or can you speak on any experience around working with people who may somehow be visually impaired, such as color blindness or visually impaired in any other manner?
Yeah, so I've actually, as an intern, I was interning, went to a couple of workshops where we were learning specifically on how to create art with people who are visually impaired. And those workshops were great because what it's more tactile. So, and how to be a third hand. So as an art therapist, I should explain this. So a third hand, what an art therapist will do is we will stand in for anything that a person needs to help them create or communicate. So as a third hand with someone who is blind, I would actually be their eye. So I would say the green material is on your left. At 12 o'clock is your red material. On your right side is your blue material. And then we provide materials that are very tactile, so that how you apply them can vary. So it can be, so it's really a lot of mixed media works that we apply with glue and paints, and it becomes beautiful, sculptural and visual, and tactile, so that when it's dry, you can pass it around and other people can feel it and feel the image. So we work with people who are visually impaired as well.
So, okay, thank you very much for that. We just wanted to give another opportunity for folks, just in case if there were any questions. I encourage you to unmute your mic. We'll just give it another minute or two. And Cindy, if you had any comments or remarks that you wanted to share with the group at all?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a great opportunity to come and introduce everyone to a little art therapy, because not a lot of people know what it's about or how useful it can be. And I want to thank the panel. Such great information that you all gave, that I will take with me and make sure that all my clients know what's available and resources. And I want to thank all the participants who came today and participated and played with me at the end. And I hope that it was as enjoyable for you as it was for me to be here and talk about my joy of drawing and painting and creating with you. Thank you so much.
Actually, Cindy, before we part, it looks like we do have a question from one of our attendees. She states, I'd like to find out about painting and finding the right paints to do my own work.
Oh, great.
So if you could maybe give an overview of the different types of paints that are out there. And
Absolutely. So there's all different types of paints that you can use. So if you're just starting out and you want more control over paint, you can start with a watercolor pencil where you sketch out your drawing and then you add the water, and then you can have more control. There's simple watercolor palettes. So this was one that I picked up, at one of the big box stores for a very small amount of money. And it does the trick. So it's a good way to start exploring, but I can tell you that if you're past the exploration stage and are interested in really like the next level, the quality of your materials becomes more important. So using brushes that are a little like softer and finer, and that also gets a little more expensive, but not terribly. So I recommend that everybody experiment with the inexpensive stuff first. If you find something that's high quality that gives you what you want from it, as in an inexpensive product, stick with it. But then if it's not doing what you want it to do, try the next level up. So then there's acrylic paints. I love acrylic paints because acrylic paint, you can paint on top. It dries very quickly. So you can paint on an image and then like just layer over the top of it as much as you like. So that's very forgiving in that way. Watercolor is a little less forgiving in that you really need to respect the whiteness of the page. So that with watercolor, in control over the water and the brushes. And then there's oil paints, which I've stopped using just because of they have more toxic material that you have to store, and the actual colors are made out of, like, cobalt blue is actually made out of cobalt. So the actual materials are a little more toxic, so I don't use them, but they can be used safely also. Just be a little careful when you're purchasing your products if you have small children at home or people who are impulsive. You would like to make sure that your materials are a little less toxic, or they're kept in a very safe place. Yeah.
all right. Well, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
there's an abundance of information. So you can look online and try to find some more information about that, or local library when things come back.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for taking time to meet with us today and do these really fun projects. And I want to thank all the attendees for being with us today, all the speakers. We do hope you enjoyed today. As a reminder, you will be receiving, if you haven't already, a survey in your email address. We ask that you please complete that survey and submit it so we could know in the future how we could improve our program, topics to present, speak, what have you. So I want to thank you all again for being at our first ever virtual Family Fest, and I wish you all a great weekend. Take care.